Good morning, everyone, and happy Halloween!
Yay!
How's everybody doing?
So good.
Marley's very happy. It's Halloween.
I love Halloween.
A great day to celebrate.
It is a great day to celebrate, and there's a lot to celebrate this Halloween because we also have season 2 of The Mandalorian, which just released yesterday, the first episode, and that's what we're here to talk about. So this isn't Stolendroids podcast. This is Stolendroids recap of Mandalorian Chapter 9, The Marshal. Hopefully you guys have all seen it.
There are spoilers.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's out now?
You haven't seen it yet, Erica?
I'm kidding.
Right,
I'm kidding.
What's The Mandalorian?
It was nice for Erica to come, but if she hasn't seen it,
Bye, Eric.
I haven't seen it.
Erica's ever gotten booted with us.
Yeah, well, she needs to get used to it. Erica, you'll find I like to boot people from time to time.
I have learned just now, so
Jake,
I'm prepared for next time.
Jake is a harsh but fair leader.
Yeah.
Fair leader.
Colin, your picture is almost perfect on the head of the Mandalorian for our
It's
background.
true. Go a little bit farther
You're
down,
welcome.
and you're perfect.
But you need a helmet.
All right.
This is the way. Yeah. Nope. Okay, now just sit like that for the whole show
time.
today.
No problem. I can do that.
Yeah. Now, we're just giving people a few minutes to join us here live because we are on the Facebook and the YouTube all live. But we do want to just put a warning out there. We are going to talk spoilers. So if you have not seen episode 1 and you came here and you wanted to just see if we liked it or something, we did. Now go away because you need to go watch it. We don't want to spoil anything for you. So, yes. So that's all I'm going to say about spoilers. You've been warned. From here on out, we can talk about whatever we want. So,
Yay!
What did you guys think of Chapter 9?
Oh my gosh!
Well-
where do we start?
First of all, I was happy that it was 54 minutes long and not just a half an hour.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. That's been one thing that's always been interesting about The Mandalorian is the episodes kind of rest in that range between 40 and 50-ish minutes, and this one was a little bit longer. I don't know if that's something that we'll see going forward and continue to see throughout the rest of season 2, but I wasn't opposed to it as long as there weren't any parts in the middle that felt like, okay, now we're just adding time to add time. And I didn't feel that way in Chapter 9.
I was so impressed all around with the CGI and the clarity, and just everything was just so beautiful. I could not look away.
Mm-hmm.
And that impresses me every single time.
But wait, someone's playing music or something. Did you guys hear that? Or is it just me? It's just me. It's fine.
I was like,
it's just me. So, yeah, I agree, Erica. I think everything looked really, really good. That's one thing that I've really enjoyed about the series is they do mix the practical effects with the computer effects really well, and it's almost seamless. And not everybody can pull that off. Like the prequel trilogies, one of my big complaints about the prequels is it feels overly CGI, everything. And for a Star Wars franchise, that's hard for me because I like the practical effects, and that's a big part of the original trilogy. And I feel like they've got a good mix with this one, which is good.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure. There were a couple shots on the speeder bikes where I was like, but minor quibble.
The only thing that really bugged me was the red scarf on occasion. You could tell was like that's not moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
That should be moving.
Speaking of the speeder bikes, did anyone feel like when Timothy Oliphant's character pulled up next to Mando on his speeder bike that we weren't just talking about speeder bikes at that point? Because his was just massive compared to Mando's.
It was just so great.
With pod racer parts,
It's
right?
a pod racer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a pod race engine. I thought that was great. Like the reuse of materials.
Yeah, and they kept showing like Mando still keeping up and like almost passing him on occasion too.
It's like, yeah, that's right. He is the best. Doesn't need to be. He is the best.
Oh yes.
I think we can. I think it confirms it's not the size of your speeder bike that matters, but it's how efficiently you use it. So.
That is.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So, All right. On that note, let's talk about some of the things in here. We know that we knew going into the season that we would see the return of Boba Fett in some way, because we knew that they had cast the actor to play him. We know that we're going to see Ahsoka Tano at some point. So we knew these things were coming. Did you expect to see any of that in this first episode, or were you thinking it was going to come later?
I actually did expect it to happen in the first episode, mainly because Jon Favreau doesn't hold back.
Mm-hmm.
They're the kind of directors that are like, if we're going to start something, we're going to start it now. And I was not surprised in the least that it happened as quick as it did.
Well, and especially when you first see the armor on the Marshal, you're just like, hey, I know what that is. Like immediately you're like, wait a second. And like, of course, when you first see him, you're kind of like, wait, is that him? But then of course, like, I don't know about you guys, but like when he took off his helmet and like set it on the table, I audibly gasped. I was like, no, you're not supposed to do that.
I think the Mandalorian almost gasped too, like, you don't take the helmet off.
Like,
he like faints. Oh,
yeah, he's like, oh,
that's religious, sir. What is this armor?
His first reaction to him walking in the bar and the Marshal asking for 2 drinks.
Mm-hmm.
He automatically is just like, wait a second.
You can't drink with that helmet on.
Do you got some straws up in here, or what are we going to be doing?
Did anybody else, as soon as the Marshal come in, just be like, wait a second, is that a child? Because the armor
he looks
obvious.
small.
Yeah, it's obviously really ill-fitting, but at first I was like, why is a child the Marshal?
Yeah.
Well, he's just very slim.
And I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he was very clearly not a child once he took the helmet off, because he's got the gray and the beard and everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting too.
I did.
This was Favreau's first episode to direct. He's written most of them. He's been the showrunner, but this was his first time behind the camera for the series.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. He's so talented.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
fantastic.
He is very talented. I agree. I do think it was interesting. You mentioned not being sure at first when you saw the armor, and I thought they made sure to almost to the point where they almost went a little overboard to make sure you knew this was Boba Fett's armor, because it was like you've got the first shot when he comes in the door, then as he's walking and you can see the missile on the back, and then when he sets the helmet down, they close up on the helmet. It's like, yes, we get it. This is Boba Fett's armor. We know that the dent's there. We understand. We're with you now.
Yeah,
but
we just gotta put that bullet in the armor so you get it.
Yeah, I did have one question though. Speaking of the missile, he uses it like 3 times in the episode. Where is he getting extra missiles from?
That's what you said. Yeah,
I yelled that at the screen. I was like, whoa, where did you get another one?
Yeah, I mean he's giving them out like candy. He's shooting stuff, blowing stuff up. Where is he getting all these extras? The Jawas don't have extra little Boba Fett missiles lying around, do they?
Jawas have the armor. Why can't they have more missiles?
I mean, they.
But would he have thought to just be like, "Oh, hey, do you just by chance happen to have a couple missiles I could just take with me?"
well, the townspeople had a bunch of explosions, so I'm sure they probably made.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
To be able to actually fit.
They took their downtime to deconstruct and figure out how to make it.
Well, I mean, he's the Marshal and he's protecting their town, so maybe they are like, yeah, we'll help you with some defenses, especially with that the creepy sand shark thing.
Yeah, the Kato dragon.
I call it a sand shark.
It is though.
So I think it's funny because when Dune comes out, people are going to be like, "Hey, that's a crate dragon."
Yeah,
Dune was around a lot long before.
Yeah.
Dune has been around for a long time, and those sandworms have been around for a long time.
I also made a Tremors joke, like when it first showed up and it's like rumbling through the town. I'm like, is that a tremor?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and it definitely looked like that as it came through the town. There were a lot. What I like about The Mandalorian is it's done a lot to build out the Star Wars world in a way that we haven't seen before on film, right? And it's giving us little glimpses into different things. Like, I love that there's some kind of professional wrestling thing going on in The Mandalorian. Like,
Sure.
that was great. And,
Oh.
and to see
Those
graffiti on the
Mandalorians,
walls.
though, they were pretty fit versus what was in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
like,
pretty
oh,
sure-
wow, it's not just like their bone structure. It's actually, hey, we're just eating way too much with Jabba.
Yeah, Jabba's place is a place of pleasure, whereas this is a place of fitness.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
think they were
goodness.
serving two very different roles, fighting each other versus just kind of sitting around. Like, I mean, I think at the point that you see Jabba in Jabba's palace, like he is running everything on Tatooine. Like, there's not a lot of threats to Jabba and his power. So it's not like his and the Gamorreans that you saw there, they weren't like the top tier of his guards anyway. They were kind of just grunts, and so they were definitely not as fit as these with their axes and.
I love that
Anyway.
that Colin's checking out their body structure.
Yeah,
Dude, ripped.
Now
You
that's
know,
what I want to look like right there.
You just gotta admire all sorts of species, man.
Squad goal.
Oh my goodness.
And let's talk about Baby Yoda getting ready for the fight. Goodbye.
Okay.
Oh my god.
yeah. So this is where we have to put the disclaimer out there before someone comments and corrects us. We know
Please do.
that he is not Baby Yoda. We know that it's the child. We know that this is not an infant of Yoda. We understand all of that. So please don't comment and say it's not Baby Yoda. We know.
We know.
We just don't care.
I love how the
It just
internet
Blows
has
off the
collectively
tongue.
decided that he likes chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Chicky nuggies.
Yeah, basically, not chicken nuggets, but chicken nuggies.
And chalky milk.
Nuggets are amazing.
I love how we just all decided this.
Oh yeah.
And if he doesn't eat a chicken nugget at some point in season 2, what was it all for? What was the point of it anyway?
Oh my goodness.
So here's what I'm worried about with Baby Yoda going throughout this series, and I don't know that it happened too much in this episode, but there was enough of it where I'm worried. Last season, there were some great moments with Baby Yoda, and it was cute, and we can't get enough of it. I'm worried that we're going to overdo it this year. Like, how many different cute things can we have Baby Yoda in that we can then make into a Funko Pop to sell to people? And because there were like 3 different things. Like, we've got to have his little pod thing that he can close. That's got to be a toy that comes out at some point, because that was, hilarious and cute. And I love that moment, Erica, when he pushes the button and it closes up. We've got him riding in the speeder bike, where the wind's going through and his ears are flopping in the wind, and then getting into the little canister thing in
The spittoon? Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not a spittoon, because that's just gross.
I think it was.
I know, and it
West
looked like
Town,
it was,
it's
and
a
it was.
platoon.
Well, and he was
I
looking
know.
inside it before he went in too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
But the
obviously
question
there was
He's
is-
nothing
popping
in
his
it.
head out, and I'm like, yeah, see, that's
But
gonna be a Funko Pop.
how did he get in the spittoon? Like,
Of course, bro. Listen, he levitates himself in.
okay, that's the only way, because I don't know how he could hoist himself up into it.
This is the
He's
way.
got some upper body.
I
He's
feel like
he's got abs. ripped underneath that
It's
clothes.
ripped.
I feel like Erica has summed up how they've gotten out of any pickle in the sequel trilogy ever.
He has
how are
the
they gonna
force.
get out of that? The Force, bro. That's what they do. The Force, bro. But it doesn't work. No, the Force, bro. It's fine.
I see your concern, and look, kind of like going back in my memory, I am grateful though that it didn't look like it was already going overboard. All the things that Baby Yoda has done, I felt were in line with character, which was really nice. So I hope that they keep within that realm and don't go overboard, because Disney's money hungry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I totally agree with that, because to me, the limit does not exist with Baby Yoda. I want all the Baby Yoda, all the cute stuff. Show me again him sitting in the back of the speeder bike, or the speed bike thing. I want to watch. He's so cute.
And
just give me more.
I felt like he wasn't in it as much as he could have been too. This was very Mandalorian.
I feel the opposite. I feel like he was in it way more than he should have been.
Really?
Yeah, I felt he was definitely in it more often, but I also expected that when they were battling the Crete Dragon, that they would actually have him do something
Yeah.
in
I expected
in
that.
that battle.
But I was kind of
Yeah.
glad they didn't.
Me too.
I was too. Because again, it starts to become too much of that easy answer, right? Like, oh, how are we going to get out of this? Oh, the Force, bro. He's going to use the Force and he's going to stop the Crate Dragon, and that's how they're going to get out.
Put him here.
The
It's the
funny
Force,
part
bro.
is
The
that
Force, bro.
it's actually a rite of passage for Tusken Raiders to kill one of those on their own.
Oh, is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they actually go and the moment that they slay one and then retrieve the water in their first pearl, that's their rite of passage into becoming an adult at the age of 15.
I'm interested
Okay,
in the
now-
logic behind that. He's a sand monster. How's he creating a pearl?
Okay,
Don't worry about
I have an answer.
It's the Force, bro.
The Force, bro?
I have, no, there's a legit answer, and
Okay.
I am going to get all deep geeky nerd on you
Good,
here.
good, good.
Let's hear it.
I'm interested.
My friend Kevin J. Anderson, who is an author, he wrote a bunch of Star Wars novels. And
That's
he
true.
is actually the one who created the Crate Dragon. He came up with it.
Oh.
And the dragon, in order to help it eat, much like an oyster, will swallow rocks. And then as it tumbles through its digestive tract and all the acids and everything beat it down, then it eventually becomes a pearl. And that pearl can actually be used to power a lightsaber.
Mhm.
Oh, so there's
Whoa.
something other than a kyber crystal that can power a lightsaber?
Yes, and it can also give different. Colin, tell me if I'm wrong. It can also give different abilities to the lightsaber.
I don't know about abilities. I know
Or
that
modification.
Visual differences,
yes,
maybe?
it gives some visual modification.
Yeah, okay, that's
Interesting.
what I
I'm
thought.
going to make a
Yeah,
note real
and-
quick to go and check all this stuff out.
I believe it was
So, yeah,
too that the acid
and
acts
this is cool.
differently on each pearl, and that
Yes.
changes the color of the lightsaber.
Yeah, and
Well, and-
it's really cool because when Disney took over the Star Wars universe, they got rid of a lot of the stuff that had come before, and people were really upset about that. They got rid of a lot of the books. They got rid of a lot of the stuff that had been done in the past. And it's fun to see Jon Favreau and the team take little bits and pieces of it and bring it back in, because the Pearl also ties into the Knights of the Old Republic game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can we all agree that Jon Favreau should be Man of the Year?
Right?
Oh yeah.
Well, and I'm also glad to know that was a pearl, because I'm not that deep into the Star Wars lore and wisdom and everything, but because there was a moment there where I was like, is that an egg?
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
destroy it.
What is this obsession with eggs all of a sudden in The Mandalorian? That was my thought. Like the Jawas with the sandhorn egg, and now we've got, or the mudhorn egg, and now we've got the egg here.
That's why
I
I
do
was
want to just
so
shout out
familiar.
real quick, Jason. If you don't come on time, you're gonna miss stuff. All right. So
That's what she said.
Yeah. What was that about being a #1 fan? I never saw Erica be late. Come on.
What?
yeah, it's true. Well,
I got
there's a reason why
reminders.
Erica's on the show, and he's just so.
Oh, man, Marley's going to get an
So-
earful later.
You guys.
I do think that leads into a good conversation, or a good point about the callbacks that they have in the Easter eggs, not tying in with eggs, but tying in with like bringing in some of the lore that was made legends, and they're bringing that in. There's a lot of Easter eggs, and there's a lot in this episode. Like, is that R5 the R5 that we saw at the beginning of A New Hope? Is that what
I
we're
got the
supposed
feeling
to?
it was.
Yeah, that was my thought on it too, and I was
He's
so
still,
excited.
He's still on Tatooine.
Yep.
It
Yep.
makes sense. It makes sense.
And even when she says it's hard to find good help these days, I'm like, that is like a callback to episode 4, and I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Dave Filoni, man, that guy is a human Wikipedia of Star Wars lore and knowledge. Like,
True.
he pulls out the coolest and most obscure stuff sometimes and puts that back in there, and it's just great to see.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 things I would like to Easter egg bring up. Non-egg.
Yes.
So at the beginning with the drawings on the wall, did anyone notice C-3PO? Drawn on the wall?
On which wall?
So at the very beginning, when he's going to the fighting ring, there's like the pan over of like all the drawings on the walls.
Oh, I didn't even
I
notice
swear
that.
I saw C-3PO there because I'm like, that's C-3PO. I'm gonna have to go back and get the screen grab for it, but
Yeah.
I swear that was C-3PO.
Look at
And
that.
then Colin's got the screen clip for me. If anyone missed it, I am 99.9% sure that our boy Benedict Wong was one of the villagers.
Oh,
Yeah, from Doctor Strange.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
He pops up for like a split second at like 42:59, and I was like,
That's very specific.
because I hunted for it
It was
because
right around there.
he popped up like twice. I'm trying to get out of the way of the light in my wall.
I thought that was part of your hoodie, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought it was
moved
like
around on my
like
hoodie and my
Chewbacca's
face.
little.
Yeah, right there on the left. That's Benedict.
Oh my
Wong.
gosh.
That's Benedict
Wow.
Wong. I couldn't find it on his official IMDb, but there is no mistaking that face.
I took like probably 5 minutes, like flipping back and forth between many pictures of him.
I
Like,
did
that
too.
has to be him.
That's Benedict Wong.
So
That's cool.
they
Right?
always throw in a lot of fun cameos like that, and sometimes it's a face character like that. Sometimes, I mean, John Favreau's been like, he was one of the Mandalorians. He was the big heavy Mandalorian in season
Iron
1.
Man.
Yeah, and so they throw in that kind of stuff throughout. So it'll be interesting to see what other Easter eggs pop up, and especially as the show becomes a bigger hit. Like, you know, last year it wasn't the big deal. I mean, everybody was excited and anticipated it, but like this year it is a bona fide hit. And so as they were filming, I'm sure there were people that were like, "Can't I just like pop in as a stormtrooper or something for a minute?" And so
Like
Mhm.
I
Daniel
think that's
Craig.
great. Like Daniel Craig in The Force Awakens.
Oh,
I
he did?
I really hope that people noticing these kinds of things draws people to the behind the scenes on Disney Plus to kind of get a look of how the directors are working together, the introduction of who they are and how they can relate to the universe, because to me that just puts a nice little bow on everything to learn so much about how they can so cohesively work together. It's so fun to watch.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's really cool because the technology that Favreau and the team have developed, they don't have to have a big crew. So these guys,
Jason!
I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh.
Jason just said, it's like the Giant Dragon takes the long village to Mulswith.
He's trying to be Ted from Schitt's Creek.
Oh my gosh, I love Ted.
Well
Okay,
done.
anyways, this isn't a Schitt's Creek panel.
well done.
Okay, sorry. You
I
were
don't think there's
saying.
anywhere we can go from here except down. So
But the way that they created the technology is they don't have to have a huge amount of crew, so they are
Right.
able to continue working during COVID much easier than other productions, and they're using the same technology in the Obi-Wan series, which should be shooting shortly.
With the timeline
So-
of everything, do we think Obi-Wan will show up in The
No.
Mandalorian?
no, because he's dead.
No, because this is post Empire.
Is it
or
post?
Yeah,
Jedi?
it's post Return of the Jedi.
Between
That's
6
Oh,
and
that's
7.
right. I thought
Yeah.
it was a
'Cause-
little bit before that.
Remember when they're driving out to the Crate Dragon, and the Marshal is explaining to him, "Yeah, this is what happened on Tatooine after the Death Star blew up. The second
Oh, that's
Death
right.
Star."
That's right.
And then the mining crew came in and anyway took over the whole town and everything, which I thought was interesting because they talked about when the lady, the repair lady, is talking about Mos Pelego, and she's like, "Oh no, that was destroyed. It's nothing out there. It's not on any maps because there's no town anymore." That town looked much more together than I thought it was going to look.
Yeah.
I mean, because when something
Yeah.
gets destroyed, we're talking like Alderaan levels is what I was picturing for the town. Like it was just nothing
Crater.
left, and so
Yeah.
it was interesting to see. But I also think on Tatooine, those towns are so far apart and there's so few of them that you don't really know what's going on in the other areas that much. And you have to picture after the Empire's fallen and they're on the Outer Rim anyway, communications weren't great, and so they've heard rumors that town is just gone. So,
Right.
Those poor villagers. No one thinks we exist.
They probably like it because then everybody
that's
leaves them
almost
alone.
good, right? Because that means it's going to be less people that are coming and trying to take over their town.
Yep.
I mean, now that, which I thought was really interesting, that the Tusken Raiders actually have like a code, right?
Yeah.
Once
Right.
they say something, it's their word. They mean it.
Yeah.
Well, and I
so
like the
I'm
fact
just worried that
because
they're
in the original Star Wars, they were just kind of these savages,
yeah,
and I like that Favreau has given them some depth and some shades of gray there instead of just being these mindless, awful creatures.
I
yeah.
really love that.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a big fan of the sign language. I think that's really cool, and that it's a great addition to how they communicate. And I think you're right, Tracy. Jon Favreau is responsible for making the Tusken Raiders cool again. You know, Anakin tried to ruin it. And really, honestly, like, this is what I know about the Tusken Raiders. They use sign language. They've got a code, and Anakin hates them. So really, those are like 3 really good reasons to think they're cool.
And they have puppies.
Oh yeah.
It was great because like we go in and we see the dogs, and I was like, Brandon's like, "Oh, we gotta kill them," and I'm like, "No, they just want scratches." And like he starts talking to them and actually gives them scratches, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's right,
Who's
that's
a
all
good
they wanted.
boy?
They wanted some love."
Who's the good stand dog?
And I just think that it shows how cool, like, it just continues to show us how cool the Mandalorian is, because he's this guy, like, he doesn't have sides, you know, like, he doesn't pick a side, really, you know, he's there to be diplomatic, and he tries to, you know, keep the peace, and it's like a trade thing, you know, it's like, oh, hey, I have this thing, you have this thing, like, let's work together to accomplish this thing, or, you know, whatever it may be. And also it does help that he speaks their language. You know, I think that shows the Tuskens that he comes in peace. You know?
I don't know about learning Tusken. Like, that's
Do we think it, though,
a known language, you would think.
it could be part of his mask is like a translation?
Maybe.
I don't know.
A way to, like, so that he
be.
could talk to all different species. He could have some sort of, like, translation technology.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like that
He
idea.
mentions that he's spent a lot of time on Tatooine when he's talking to that one-eyed guy, and he's like, "Yeah, there's a Mando on Tatooine." He's like, "I spent a lot of time there." There's not.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
what has he been doing on Tatooine, and why has he spent so much time there? Because we're not talking about just like the episodes that we saw last year where he was on Tatooine, but like he knows the Sand People language. He knows like their culture. Like when he sees the dogs pop out, he's like not bothered by it at all because he knows what they are.
Well,
I mean, you can tell like his
Tatooine
facial
is-
expression. He's not worried about it at all.
Yeah.
But,
His
Tatooine
facial
is
expression.
still really big in the smuggling ring, even after Jabba.
Yeah.
And someone just came in and kind of took over his empire, and so now they've got someone else that's kind of running things, and he probably frequented there to get some jobs.
That could be. That's a good point.
Tatooine's a main hub for a lot of things. The most least expected hub kind of a thing because it's so desert
Yeah.
and abandoned.
That's the best place for it.
Exactly.
All right. We have to talk about, before we end this, the very last scene.
Yes.
And who we see standing in the 2 suns there of Tatooine as they're setting. Like I said, I was not necessarily expecting it to pop up. And when it was the Marshal in the armor, I was like, okay, so it's going to be a little while. Maybe this will be part of the series, is how does he get that armor back, and does Boba Fett play a role? But no, we're just going to do it right now, right at the very end of the first episode, and
great.
remove all doubts. He's just walking around armorless. Not armless. He's got both his arms, just no armor.
And it makes
Doesn't have
sense.
any hair though.
I was watching I was supposed to say Stolendroids. I'm always watching Stolendroids. I was watching
Of
New
course you
Rock
are.
Stars because I'm a #1 fan. I was watching New Rock Stars and their like initial reaction to things, and they made a good point that Boba Fett's technically not a Mandalorian, so he doesn't have the same religious tie to the armor. So it makes sense that he kind of let it go. He kind of shed that skin to get get away from it because of everything he's been through. So it makes sense that he is free with his face.
Yeah.
And is okay getting rid of the armor, but is still kind of keeping an eye on things because that's who he is.
Which also makes you wonder a little bit about Jango, because Jango didn't wear his helmet. He obviously had other plans, and so did he get kicked out of?
I don't think. Well, possibly.
I don't think he was ever a Mando.
I don't think so, because their armor is made out of different materials. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, it's Durasteel.
Yeah, Durasteel, because they're made out of 2 different types. So that would suggest he was never. Yeah, he was never a Mandalorian.
Well, and I think one of the things that's going to be addressed, because Dave Filoni's not going to not address it, is in The Mandalorian, what we're seeing at this point after Return of the Jedi and the Mandalorians that we've seen is they don't remove their helmet for any reason. And if they do, then they can't put it back on. But in other series that he has been the showrunner of, like the Clone Wars series and like Rebels, we see Mandalorians who do take their helmets off. And so are we going to see some
sect?
I don't know, and that's what I'm wondering. And I know that was one of the big questions after The Mandalorian, because we made this big deal about this is the way and everything else. We don't take the helmet off. And there were tons of memes that came out on the internet after that about, oh, really? And then they showed all the different Mandalorians from the Clone Wars and from Rebels. I mean, Sabine was a Mandalorian, and she like had her helmet on half the time and not half. Like, it was basically she'd go to fight, put her helmet on, and then when she was with the rest of the Rebels group, she didn't have her helmet on. And
maybe
so
it was just a part of that time. Maybe the new Mandalore kind of set things up this way. Because I am reading on one of Star Wars fandom's databases, and Jango was actually Mandalore for a while.
Oh, interesting.
He actually led a lot of the Mandalorian Civil War.
He could have been like one of those, like, adopted essentially into the religion, but was never super into it. Therefore,
well, and
took his helmet off.
Or he defected.
Defect is probably what it was.
That's another part of it. You talk about the foundlings, right? That wasn't really a part of Mandalorian lore in what we've seen in the Clone Wars and even in Rebels. But now, since the Purge and since the Empire has fallen, is this how they're building their religion and their culture back up, is through foundlings that they are bringing in and teaching the way to. And I think that I find that kind of stuff interesting. So I would love a deep dive into how it's changed over time and what we're seeing and why those differences are there. And and maybe bringing Boba Fett in is going to bring some of those answers as well for the Mandalorian, because he's got to come to terms with some of that stuff.
I think we get an explanation of how he survived the Sarlacc.
We better.
I think that's
I
just.
assume we would.
Or is it just the Mandalorian armor and
I think it was part of the armor and determination in my idea. I don't know if I don't know if he would even question how he's alive, because I don't think he even knew that he was
right.
Yeah, so I think it's left up to our creative minds of how he was probably trained. Therefore, he, like in New Rockstars, they deep dived into that question of how he could have survived, and it's like, well, they're trained to be in all these different situations and strategically find a way out. Therefore, what he probably did was, like, his armor wouldn't deteriorate, but he somehow got the monster to, like, kind of regurgitate and spit him out, which would have, like, and I was like, I can see that, because, like, his armor's a little bit more eroded, so it might have been affected by the acid.
But we've also seen that. Well, we've also seen a monster regurgitate a Mandalorian just in this last episode.
Exactly. So why not have it happen twice?
Yeah, I would really,
or Beskar just upsets the stomach.
I would really love
which film was it? I think it was in Attack of the Clones too. We see Jango actually go through and use his what are they called? His gauntlets, not bracers. His bracers to actually pop out a little thing that starts holding down. So
that's a good point.
I assume maybe he had something like that, and he was able to catch his way down. Or
I wonder.
I would love
Oh, sorry.
For the explanation to come by way of Patton Oswalt being a guest star on the show, and like he's explaining to Mando what he saw, like the gauntleted fist of Boba Fett. Yes, Boba Fett is, and just like the Parks and Rec speech. Anyway,
either that or Josh Gad as Olaf.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh, dude, that guy.
Oh my goodness!
Love it. What were you saying?
He's retelling
Erica?
all the Star Wars episodes as Olaf on his.
I saw that.
It's pretty great.
I'm wondering when we're going to see the Darkblade return.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, we're going to get to that because Mando needs that.
I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure.
Mando needs it.
Oh yeah.
So.
I'm very excited.
And I thought it was interesting too that when this season started, it wasn't chapter 1 again, but chapter 9. And so I'm wondering if they're going to continue that out throughout the whole series. So like as we get to season 3, and I kind of almost want this, like, does this story with the child, so nobody gets angry, come to an end and we get some kind of resolution, and then kind of the next quest that he goes on, and that starts a new chapter 1.
Oh.
That would be weird, but it would be
Don't you
kind of cool if they
blaspheme.
did something like that.
No, don't you blaspheme. You're taking away Baby Yoda. Marley's going to hate you.
I'm not taking him
She's
away.
patting right now.
I mean, what's the end game with the child? Is he gonna like put on some Mandalorian armor and grow up to be just like his dad?
Yes,
gosh.
Jake. Yes,
That would be adorable.
with a lightsaber.
I wonder
Ears. The Mandalorian helmet has to have
like poking out. Yeah.
Yes, all the yes.
so cute. I'm gonna get a Mandalorian helmet and glue Yoda ears on them.
Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
that
The
is a
child
Funko
ears.
Pop. That is a Funko Pop that will sell so much money.
Come on, Disney.
I'll take it.
I'll pre-order that. I see the money flying out of my pocket right now. To Disney I go.
All the Baby Yoda.
So much of my money goes to Disney. It's true.
But I think it's interesting too. One last thing was when we were talking to Easter eggs, the guy who played the character, I can't remember the character name for the Marshal, but he was actually in one of the novels that's come out in the new official canon by Chuck Wendig, I think is his name, Aftermath. There's just like a paragraph about a guy who got a hold of Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth is his name.
Yeah, and
thank you.
It actually goes into as well a little more into the Tusken Raiders piece, saying that the Tusken Raiders actually help protect their land now.
That's awesome. Does
Interesting.
Does the Marshal seem sus to anyone else?
No.
For some
I like
reason,
the
he's
Marshal.
giving me like Jamie Lannister vibes, and I don't know why. And I'm just like, there's more to you, and I need to know what it is.
I think I have the
how
opposite
hard he
because
played
I'm
Thomas
watching.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
I'm having the opposite because I'm watching Fargo, and he's one of the police officers, and he plays a Mormon detective in
that's
Okay.
1950s Kansas City, and so he doesn't swear. But he's kind of this straight-laced police officer. So when I saw him as the Marshal, I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess maybe it is just me.
So I think at the beginning, I got kind of those vibes that you're talking about, Erica, and I think that we're supposed to, because he kind of shows up in Boba Fett's armor, and he is like, basically, you're gonna have to take it off my cold dead body, and like they're gonna have this duel and everything else. But then as the story goes on, and you find out he legitimately does, even as he's telling his backstory, I'm like, yeah, this guy is not a good guy. But like then as it went on, I think it became more apparent that he was, and I think
Oh, go ahead.
I think we just have these expectations of what our hero should be like, and like wandering around aimlessly in the desert and running away from the mine cartel or whatever it was that took over the city doesn't seem very heroic to us. But the reality is people change and grow and develop and whatever. So
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think it's kind of like the Mandalorian, where he has his own kind of sense of justice and rightness. And when your town is constantly under attack, you're going to be wary of strangers. You're going to have that barrier set up. I don't think he's necessarily the nicest guy, but I don't think that he's a bad guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes me feel a little bit better that no one else is feeling this way. Because I'm like, there's something about him, I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, obviously Mando trusted him to a certain extent because he was like, take care of the kid, and like hit his rocket and blasted him off. That rocket must have a fatal flaw design flaw in it that you can easily push the button to make people fly away. Because like that's exactly what happened to Boba Fett when he's I just accidentally, I'm blind in the middle of the desert and accidentally hit the right button on your rocket to make you fly away.
That was a nice little Easter egg callback.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun to see that kind of stuff. But let's talk about what would we rate this episode? What are we thinking is going to happen next week? Are we excited for chapter 10?
Yeah.
That was 3
questions. Yeah. Yes, we're excited. For me, this show is just full of so many surprises, and it's just like every episode is good in my opinion. And so like for me, I'm like I don't know what's going to happen. I just know I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view this show. But what are we giving our rating out of? Like what's the scale?
Well, so we've had to do something different because movies that make us, we do a letter grade, so we can't do that. And I don't know what we do on Stolendroids because we never rate anything. Well, and cutscenes and cupcakes, we do cupcakes.
Out of 5.
Yeah.
And Mystery Project doesn't rate anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
We don't even know what Mystery Project is.
How many Mando helmets are you giving this?
There we go. How many Mando helmets are you giving it?
Out of 5?
Yeah, we'll do it out of 5.
5.
5.
Okay.
5.
I'm easily pleased.
Me too.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 4.5. It was setting the stage. It's one of those episodes that's setting us up for future things. Not a ton happened, but I like that it was a self-contained story. But it definitely was a setup for things to come. So I give it 4.5.
Okay. I would give it a 4. I don't know that it was the strongest episode that we've seen. I still enjoyed it a lot, but I think the reason why I enjoyed it is because it's been a year since we've had Mandalorian, and it's been a crummy year since we've had the Mandalorian. So like I just wanted something, and this hit all the notes that I needed it to hit. I got enough of the Baby Yoda, I got enough of the Mandalorian, but I don't think this is the strongest episode that we've had, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 Mando helmets. But that's still really good.
With Mandalorian, I'm going to give 5 because I just love the Star Wars the
universe.
The
Use your
lore.
words.
Thank you. I love the lore so much.
Shiny.
Jake, mine arrives on the 16th.
Did it? So
It's coming.
It's coming on the 16th.
It's coming on the 16th.
Mine's already here.
I need
So
to spend more
Marley,
money.
Jake said that he had enough of Baby Yoda.
That's not what I said.
He can have his own opinion. That's fine.
I'm gonna
You
3D
said, "I
print
had enough
everybody
Mando,
a Baby
I had
Yoda.
enough Baby
Oh,
Yoda.
please do. Do you have a 3D printer?
My brother-in-law does, and I made my friend. I 3D printed her Baby Yoda, and then I painted it, and I want to do more.
Well,
Nice.
Jake's wife crochets or knits
Yeah.
them. I got one last year.
Yeah.
Is she going to do it again?
No.
Aw.
What if they show him eating a little nuggie? Will she make some then?
Like,
Specifically for Marley, because
'Cause I
that's
need them
Marley's
with a little
food
nugget.
pyramid.
okay.
I love chicken nuggets. I'm going to have some for lunch, okay?
I'll have some
will
for lunch
put-
to celebrate.
We will put a picture of the child that she made so everybody can see it. I don't know that she's going to do it again this year just because my wife is very creative. She loves making new things in crochet, but she doesn't like repeatedly doing the same thing over and over
Okay.
again.
Makes sense.
And she got sick of it last year. So,
Gotcha.
and
I
don't
totally
blame her.
get that.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got one then.
Yes. They're very super rare.
Collector edition.
They are.
Yes.
I joined the
But she
family
did make me
late.
this. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's
Oh,
Sam.
I love
so
that.
cool.
That's not Star Wars
Oh,
though,
Sam
so we won't talk
I
about
would
that.
love for her to knit Pippin.
Okay. We'll talk. We'll talk about that.
So when do you think we get Ahsoka?
I'm thinking
I
it could
don't
be a
know.
couple episodes in, like maybe mid to end.
Yeah.
Because
Gonna
it's
pop
so
in.
Sorry. who?
exactly because it's so anticipated. They want to
Okay.
build it up.
Oh, Ahsoka. Okay.
Yeah, I think I don't think it'll be the very end of the season, but I do
Right.
think it'll probably be middle is probably where we'll get it.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be starting to ask questions, and I think the reason why we're going to get Ahsoka is because he's going to be asking questions about Jedi and Force wielders and things like that, and that's going to drive him to wherever she's hiding out.
Well, and she's got a huge background with Mandos as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that we'll probably see the next episode's going to bring in Boba Fett, not just introduce him, but bring him in and kind of wrap up a little bit of that story arc. And then maybe we get her at the end of episode 3 and kind of more
Are they
in depth.
doing 8 or 9
4.
this season?
I think it's 8.
That's not enough.
If anything, unless they're all going to be around an hour this time. That would be nice.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. That would give us all like almost a full episode longer.
It'll be interesting if we see anyone else from Rebels as well, like Sabine.
Yeah.
Sabine.
You know, with Sabine being one of the former Darksaber wielders, that could be kind of cool.
I never finished watching Rebels, so I'm watching it right now.
Rebels is a great series.
It is so good.
I really liked Rebels. I'm having a hard time getting into Clone Wars just
Really?
because I don't like that period of Star Wars lore. The prequels, I'm not a big fan of the prequels.
This
this
changed everything for me. The Clone Wars series. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It made
I've heard
everything
great things,
so much better.
I'm having a hard time.
If you cut out any of the
I'll try
episodes
again.
with Padme or that are political, you will enjoy it so much more.
They don't come up as
Those episodes
often.
are just very, very
But I agree.
slow. Because those were the parts that I got stuck in, and it took me probably 4 or 5 years to actually get through all the seasons. And finally, I did. But
So like regular people that just watched them when they came out, it took you 4 or 5 years to get through. All right. We want to know what you thought about Chapter 9, The Marshal. Leave it in the notes, in the comments here on Facebook or on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel because we are going to be doing more live broadcasts like this throughout The Mandalorian and possibly other shows. So make sure you're following us on YouTube. You're marking the notifications so that you get notified when new videos go live and are published. Also today, if you get the opportunity, and you should take the opportunity, go check out Cutscenes and Cupcakes YouTube channel or Facebook page because it is their 2-year anniversary today.
Yay!
A special episode all about that, and we love having them as part of the Stolendroids family. So thank you.
We love it
Amy
too.
and Company. So
Thanks.
thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Leave your comments, your questions that you might have. Tell us what you're expecting in the next episode, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Happy Halloween!
Oh yeah, happy Halloween. Be safe. Be safe in your Halloween celebrations. All right, that's all I'm going to say about it. And that,
This has
yeah,
been a
just be safe.
Stolendroids Media production.